I don't know. I think that I just finished reading Margaret Atwood's latest book, Year of the Flood, and she's an incredible writer. And I've had the pleasure of interviewing her once, but she's what I call was called a dystopian thinker, right? So, and sometimes my looking at the future, I get very dystopian myself, seeing what's happening, and so I don't know where this goes. I do know that I think there is a massive struggle taking place on the planet Earth and in our country over the future, and I think the only thing we can do. Someone said the other day to me, "Do you believe in peace? Peace in the world? You're coming around Christmas time, New Year's, spiritual times of the year. So, do you believe like peace on earth?" And I said, I think that's the wrong way to look at it. That's the wrong question. I don't know peace on earth. I believe in that you live your life as peacefully as possible in a nonviolent way, and struggle and fight for a better world. And you keep pushing. You have to look at things in a large continuum of time. You can't just think of the moment you're in now. People in this country, from the very beginning, there was a small body of people who fought against slavery, who were abolitionists. And many sacrificed their lives. And then the Civil War happened. And Frederick Douglass convinced Abraham Lincoln to allow there to be colored troops to go fight in the Civil War, and the war at the end became about breaking the back of slavery, but that's not where it started. Though for many people who were inspired to fight, who were abolitionists, that was their fight. And then so we killed slavery, we ended it, and then Reconstruction happened, and a world almost blossomed of black and white in the South. Still a very controversial period, which is one of my favorite periods in American history. We have not really understood that history, Reconstruction, what it meant for us as Americans. But it was a time when blacks and whites freed slaves in a tried to create a democratic world without vengeance. I mean, think about this. Think about the hundreds of black men who were elected to office in Reconstruction. None of them tried to commit vengeance against the people who had enslaved them. That's pretty powerful stuff. So it moved our country ahead. And then the forces of reaction were very powerful, pushed back, ended Reconstruction, got rid of the radical Republicans in Congress, ended Reconstruction, and created segregation. Then 100 years later, we had this other movement that I was lucky enough to be part of, that had sit-ins and freedom rides, and we broke the back of segregation and ended it. We didn't end racism. But what I'm saying is that struggle is always about pushing ahead, being prepared to see yourself push back a little, but part of what you've pushed ahead, they can't take back. So the question is not a question of whether there's peace on earth and whether we're going to win or lose. The question is a question of struggling for a better world. And I think what's happened is that in each generation and each time period, we've gotten stronger, and our message has gotten stronger, and that we are in a place in the world where human rights meant nothing 100 years ago. Human rights mean something today, and human rights activists and economic activists for economic justice have a real power, and that power is growing. And you might not be able to see it all in this kind of centralized huge movement, but there are movements across this globe that are really fighting, and I think and for a better world. And I think that's how we have to look at where we're going. Because if I or we or people in general just focus on the power that these money people have in the corporate world, you might as well just go smoke a joint, go hide in the woods, and enjoy the rest of life, because forget about it. But if not, then there's something that we can do. I think we can make change. And I think that's how we have to look at this stuff. Well, the show started by happenstance. It didn't, I think sometimes life is like tumbling down through through a vortex kind of thing, and things stick out at you like a branch. You grab a hold and you look and see what's happening, and okay, let's try that, you know. And that's what happened to me in this world of media. I got into media by accident, because before that I was, the most immediate thing I was doing before that was I was in theater. I was a social activist. I taught theater at School for the Arts. I was, you know, involved in different things, and I worked in advertising. I ran political campaigns. I was a therapist and counselor. I was a community organizer. I did a lot of things over the years, and so this happened by accident very quickly. It just happened because I was with the general manager of then WJHU, in the dentist's office, by accident, talking. Happened to be there at the same time. He said, "We're thinking about starting a public affairs show on WJHU, and we're all classical, and you know this town like from the corporate boardrooms to the street corners. What do you think?" Out of my mouth came, "I think you should let me be the host." So I don't know why I said that, but it came out that way. And then he said, "What do you know about radio?" I said, "Well, what's to know?" I said, you think, you read, you stay involved, you talk to people about their ideas, and and he said, and he kept saying, no. And then finally one day, after 3 months of hocking him because I wouldn't let it go, after he opened the door, he said, "Okay, here's your phone, this is your desk, taking all things considered off from 7 to 8:30 every Tuesday night. That's your time slot. No money, no producer, see what you can do." I said, "You got it, I'll take it." That's how it started. And I always saw my work as kind of an extension of my social activism, in terms of trying to create a place where people who never had a voice would have a voice among those who already have the voice. And so, and it just, I mean, I'd done a little bit in media before. I helped start Liberation News Service back in 1967. I worked in Washington Free Press back then, and I did all kinds of stuff back in the 60s. I had a newspaper I helped do and publish in South Baltimore for a while, called the South Baltimore Voice. So I was on the periphery always in the media. I did work in documentary work a little bit. So I was always on the edge of that, but never in the heart of it like here I am now. So it's just in March it'll be 17 years, which is, I've never thought I'd do anything in my life for 17 years. And other than be a father forever. But so the other part about politics, I mean, I've thought about it. I mean, when Ben Cardin ran for the Senate, people came to me and said, "Will you run for Congress?" I thought about it very seriously. And it was my first wife and my kids and some old friends that said, "Man, you can't run. They'll be so busy talking about what you used to do as opposed to what you are going to do that you won't have a chance to really run." And I thought about that, and I also just thought about where I wanted to spend my time in life, and I said, this is not. I mean, I think that I would really prefer to use what standing and power and thought and respect I have in the community to organize for change and to push people and things and help create something from the bottom up. I think that for me, I feel like I'm going into it's another era getting ready to start, and I see that my media work and the fight for a decent world, a just world, is where I want to dedicate the rest of my life to, and to do my writing and to organizing and getting people motivated and moving. I think I'll probably do that best from the outside. I'm not so sure that I want to be on that inside part. There are a lot of people who inspire me on a daily basis. A lot of people. I don't have any one person. I mean, there are people I know in the community like Ray Cook, who is one of those thugs who turned to peace, who inspires me all the time with the work that he does, who I love very dear as a brother. I mean, there's people who have passed and gone, like Studs Terkel, who someone wrote me a letter the other week saying he moved to Baltimore from Chicago and found our radio show and said, man, she said, you are Studs Terkel. And I said, well, that really kind of made me feel good. It brought a big smile to my face, you know, because I think Studs Terkel embodied the best of the creative mind, the creative world, and political activism and social activism, fighting for a just world. I mean, that's the kind of radio media person I can be if I have 5 years left, 10, 20, 30 years left, whatever is left, who knows. But if Studs worked until his dying breath, he was writing books, interviewing people, kept the struggle going, you know, and so the people like that inspire me. I could just name dozens of people around the globe and around this country who spend their lives organizing and fighting for poor people, for the planet, for the community, for a better world, for human rights, that inspire me every time I read their stories. You know, they keep me going because I know that we're not alone in our quest to make this a better place to live.